out. Yes, we might be a couple minutes late, but that's why I tell y'all that it's going to be around 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, God willing, that we get up here. I got something that, wow, God revealed this truth, and it goes right in line with our movement, combating radio frequencies for healthier living, because there's always a spiritual reason and a physical reason for a lot of things. I'm starting to see that now. By the way, quick disclaimer, this is a hotel room. This one, it has a bit more of a not so good ceiling in the door, so I can't control outside noises. So it is what it is. So if you hear the occasional aircraft, motorcycle, somebody talking, what have you, or whatever, it is what it is, okay? So we're going to do what we got to do. These are business trips, and we got to do our business. Got to get up here and give y'all the spiritual truth while those notifications are going out. Let me go ahead and do our usual check here and see if I need to do any kind of video camera alignment here. So I know some of y'all are working a different schedule this week, and the lives are a bit challenging, but you will catch them on the replay, and I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate y'all. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and deliver this truth because it's something, and I appreciate it's something that we would not. Okay, all right. So let me see what we can do here. I see a little bit of fixing the camera just a hair there. All right. See if that's any better. It seems a little bit slightly off focus there. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're gonna leave it alone. We're not gonna mess with it too much. All right, anyhow, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Truth Seeker podcast, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequencies for healthier living. And one of the things we come to understand better, the more immersed in the Word of God we are, and in God's reality we are, that heightened awareness that we continue to get, and we start to think about things that, well, we would not normally think about, especially when it comes to radio frequency poisoning and how the matrix, that narcissistic matrix, is using it. And I'm going to give y'all a spiritual reason why the matrix schedules very little help a lot of times. You know, cashiers and, okay. Well, let's just say that the devil and his minions know that the effects of radio frequency poisoning will wear off relatively quickly when we are away from the source that our body is not able to adapt to. That is when you will experience negative effects of radio frequency poisoning, is when the amount of radio frequency exposure exceeds your body's ability to adapt. That is not a secret. You will read about that truth also at electricalpollution.com. So we're not just making this stuff up. This is known. It's just not a lot of people are aware of it, and you have a lot of people who don't care, that are narcissists, as long as they get what they want. Okay? As long as they continue to get that special treatment, they don't care. Radio frequency, what? To them, they don't care. They don't realize that they are being mind controlled by that very radio frequency poisoning. So anyhow, we used to wonder about that from time to time. You go to Walmart or you go to a grocery store. It's pretty busy. But there's only a few cashiers. So you're standing in line a lot longer than necessary. Well, what are you being exposed to? Aha! If there's music playing, because a lot of times there are, okay, or there is, excuse me, music, that's frequency. And then what about all of the sounds? Bleep, bleep, bleep. Frequency. That's radio frequency. And if your body has excess salt on the inside, it's going to affect that because that salt serves as a magnet for that frequency. So if you have an autonomic nervous system that is numb and you're not aware of it, then it's having a negative impact on you if you've got excess salt inside your body, and you're not going to feel well. You're going to feel drained of energy, and you're going to wonder why your sinuses feel this way, because your body's internal heat's too high. That's why. And too much salt. So, well, I discovered this the other day. It was a holiday weekend. And all I needed was just a few things. That's okay. I got patience. We developed the godlike patience that we need in God's reality. And I said to myself, okay, wait a minute. There's only there's like 30 some stations that could be open, but there's only about 3. And the time of day where things are picking up. And so, no biggie. But I said to myself, why do they schedule so little help at certain times, it seems? And that's when God revealed it to me. He said, well, think about radio frequency poisoning. The longer you are exposed to more radio frequency than your body can adapt to, then let's just say the longer it takes for your body's circulation to return to normal when you leave. So this is based on the demon of assumption that you're going to leave the store where you were just exposed to more radio frequency than your body can adapt to, but with a numbed ANS, you don't know that. So you go from there, and then you get in your car and you blast that radio. Oh! Okay? You're keeping the numbness going. And then you go to wherever it is, right? Let's say you go home to take whatever you got at the store home, right? And you've got the TV going, and let's see, there's some other gadget. People are talking all kinds of noise and pestilence. So now you're being exposed to radio frequency there too. So the effects from being in the store longer than necessary because the narcissistic matrix didn't schedule enough help to have you stand in line to be exposed to more radio frequency than your body can adapt to. And now, everywhere you go after that, you're just getting more radio frequency exposure. Your body never could adapt to that, but your ANS is numbing, so you ain't even going to know it. You ain't even going to know it. You're just going to, because that happened to all of us before we became aware that we're being exposed to more radio frequency than our body can adapt to at certain times with excess salt on the inside. But we didn't know that. We thought we had a head cold. We thought we had sinuses. We thought we had all these things that do not exist because Jesus cleans everything. And so we stopped telling ourselves, oh, it's just our body detoxing from radio frequency poisoning. It's detoxing from excess salt. That's it. We don't tell ourselves that crap anymore about ourselves. But we understand better why. Because the matrix wants to keep you in that store longer than necessary to keep you exposed to radio frequency poisoning. And also to see if it will induce a little impulse buying, because that salt on the inside of the body is getting heated up. And so the hotter the inside of your body goes to the head, you start to feel a bit euphoric. Oh yeah, that's called a salt high. And so now you're high on salt, and being around all these chips and stuff, like, man, I think I'm getting hungry, right? And so you start grabbing chips while you're waiting in line, because there's not enough help to get you out of there efficiently, right? And so now you end up impulse buying, taking more salt. Yeah. You see where I'm going with this? So it makes it more difficult to resist the devil's temptations. How you going to resist the devil so he can flee if your body's internal heat remains so high and you're unaware of it, and you get tricked into thinking you're hungry when you're not? Another reason why they want to keep you in them stores longer than necessary. That's how the devil stays in your finances. And then also how he targets your health. Because are you going to make a healthier decision when you're experiencing a euphoric salt high? Not necessarily. Not unless you're aware that that's what's going on. And so the narcissistic matrix scheduled very little help for that reason. I have another truth that was revealed today, as I had to call and cancel renter's insurance that I don't even need anymore. Duh. I know I should have done it a while back, but nonetheless, we got around to it. Because it's another way that the matrix tricks us into being exposed to more radio frequency than necessary by keeping you on hold unnecessarily. But before we get to that, let me go ahead and see what we got going on. I see you, Cindy. Yes, okay. More shenanigans, and you just got to keep it moving. Okay. Oh gosh. Oh wow, the water. Okay. You know, Cindy, prayers that the narcissist eventually stops with these shenanigans. Seriously. I mean, it's so childish. It is so childish. The narcissist doing that, it is so childish. It's just like, oh, I know. And obviously to get a negative emotional reaction out of you, I get it. And so yeah, we got prayers going for y'all. And then talking about how the narcissistic matrix has very little help, and says they rearrange their products. Right, they sure do. They rearrange their products on the shelves a lot. And they'll do that. It's all part of the narcissistic matrix trying to induce confusion. And then also to keep you in the store longer than necessary, because now you got to look for it again. Yeah? It's not in the same place it was last time, was it? What you're looking for. Yeah. So thank you. That's a good one, Cindy. Great point. Great insight. To keep you in the store longer than you need to be. Exactly. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, and yours truly is the same way. We got a list. We get in and we get out. We try to go as early as possible so we get in and get out. I'm with you on that. And it isn't because we don't enjoy shopping. It's just that it's just, yeah. There's no reason to be in the store for like 5 items even. There's no reason to be there for more than 20 minutes, if that, really. So, yeah, I found that out. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, you go with the list and get in and get out. There you go. Okay, so he finally responded with a dissolution offer, and it's ridiculously low. Okay. Okay, I got you. And that's the other thing. When the narcissistic matrix, right, when it's scheduled very little help, and they blast the music. Sometimes the music is not so great. Yeah, I know. I got you. Yeah. I can totally feel you on that one. Absolutely. Yeah, sometimes the music, and even in restaurants. Think about that, okay? We're going to talk about that also, as far as why sometimes your food seems like it's taking forever. Because depending on where you're at, depending on the time of year, depending on the season, so many things. Okay, so many things, and the devil targets your health, and so he's using radio frequency to try and keep you unwell, and he's got to keep you exposed as long as possible, because he knows that God designed our biological bodies to recover very quickly. I've noticed that. So, like the other day, I'm in Walmart. I could tell when it was affecting a certain area on my body, and I said, well, I know, because we still have a little bit of excess salt trapped. We had the sweat trapped in the skin there, and so I'm aware of it, and we're working on it. And I said, okay, but it's just going to take time, right? Over time, you got to detox. Your body's going to detox. It's going to do it. But because it's a little excess still in that spot, I felt the frequency, and I said, okay, and I turned that around, like how God takes what the devil dishes out and flips it for his glory. Okay, well, we learned how to do the same thing. I said, oh, okay, that's just letting me know where I need to do a little more self-care. And it don't hurt or anything. It's just my body. I can literally feel my body getting heated up in that spot. Just that spot. I was like, I can feel the heat. And so that's where the sweat is trapped in the skin. So I said, okay, we're just going to work itself out. And then also we know to allow our body the time it needs to cool down, ice pack even, what have you. So I said, okay, so we'll be working on that. And I could, but as soon as I got back outside, well, see, that's another reason why they keep it so cold when it's hot outside too, because they want you to not notice. And they also don't want the matrix. They don't want you sweating this stuff out. Oh, no, because if you don't have any bruises or any injuries or anything like that, then it needs to have that sweat trapped in the skin, that salt water, because that's what it needs to do. That. So once you're able to detox and you don't have that, your body is able to sweat like it's supposed to, none of that's going to have the negative impact it's supposed to have. No. I can attest to this, and I know a lot of y'all can too, because you've made it through the detox, and so you know what I'm talking about. If you are making the healthier choices and eating healthier, and by the way, Cindy, I saw that yesterday in our short message about stuffed bell peppers for lunch. Thank you. Those are awesome, and yours truly is looking forward to being able to have that again once I've got access to the right cooking equipment. Okay, so I probably can do it in the pan on a stovetop. I'll just have to figure out how. But and that's a healthier choice when you make stuff like that yourself. When you're making that change for better health, then we are combating all this radio frequency for the healthier living. And so we have to be aware of these things and then understand why. Well, and then of course, the spiritual side. Don't schedule enough help and get a bunch of people complaining. Okay, that's that demon of complaining. Okay, there's your spiritual answer. All right, that's the spiritual answer as to why. And so let's say you got to call a place and let's say you got to cancel, or you need to obtain renter's insurance, whatever it might be. It don't matter, okay? Insert whatever you're calling about here. And you get that message, and we've been getting it a lot over the last decade or more, that they are experiencing extremely high call volume. Really? I've been wondering about that myself. And now that I think about how the matrix works, And what I was alluding to earlier is how it doesn't move that fast. It's like a snail crawl out there. Seriously, that's why I tell y'all, you just slow down. Chosen ones, you can take a break. We could take like 3 days off and still be ahead of the Matrix. I'm telling you. We get stuff done. All right, chosen ones, you can take 3 days off of doing, bearing that fruit and come back and still be ahead of the Matrix, okay? It don't move that fast. No. Oh man, and that helps us unlearn the indoctrination of impatience. Hey Jay, welcome. All right, yeah, and I wondered about that. Oh yeah, extremely high call volume. Okay, depending on who it is and what the entity is that we're calling. Okay, all right, okay, but they kept giving me the message every few minutes that the website has option for my convenience, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but I want to make sure. I just want to make sure that we get this done. And in my case, I needed to cancel something, and I said I just want to make sure that it goes through, because on the website you can request. I said, no, we ain't requesting. I need to cancel. There ain't no request. I was like, no, we're gonna take the middleman out on that one. And so. Right, being on hold, but I put the phone on speaker for about almost 17 minutes. And, it's fine and nice. I just started putting on my makeup, and I got my broccoli cooked for my straight up 100% broccoli juice. Come on, y'all. Thank you for sowing your seed into this ministry, because you helped yours truly. I mean, it's a personal blender, and I was able to find it for like $18. So that way we can do this. And I can share with y'all that, yes, straight up, when you cook a vegetable, okay, pick one vegetable, or you can do a mix of vegetable. Cook them until they're so soft, like almost like mush. And then when you put them in that mini blender or a blender, and then you add the water that you prefer for a juice. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm basically, when I put it on ice, it becomes broccoli water. And that's fine. Just straight up 100, no garlic powder, no spices, no nothing. Just straight up vegetable. All right, and we did that with carrots a few days ago. So it's all part of healthier living, you all. We can do that. It doesn't matter what distraction the devil tried to throw our way. We stay on track. Remember yesterday's message, we got to stay on the right track. All right, well, that's how we do it. We stay on track. Okay, we stay on the right track. And we don't allow the devil to, cause my dissertation chair reached out to me today, and we're like, all right, come on, we gotta stay on the right track. All right, we gotta keep it moving. We're gonna push this thing through. Glory be to God. So, so many things that we just got to stay busy with, and then me bringing y'all some more content and this truth here. But yeah, being on hold, and I said to myself, now the music. It came back, telling us that message, and then it said, they'll be with us shortly. I hope you enjoy the music. Okay, well, thank you. And it was like flute music, classical music. Yours truly used to play flute, and I was first chair flute for a few years in high school. And so I don't mind that. It's very relaxing. So that's not so an issue, but when you think about having that thing up to your ear for an extended amount of time, not only, right, your arm going numb, right, that's cutting off circulation, isn't it? Or slowing it down, right? Yeah. So that's why I put it on speaker and I put it down. They're going to put me on hold, and I'll be doing something else while I wait on them to answer. Till I get somebody. And right, because that's another way to expose us or overexpose us to radio frequency unnecessarily. Okay? Yeah, so, and then you got to think about restaurants and music. It depends on the type of music. So I feel you on that one. Wherever you're at sometimes the music isn't so pleasant. I understand that. Okay, so Yes. And then we're talking about having to wait forever and then getting a foreigner that you can't understand. I understand that too. I know. Yours surely has had to do it to where if I could not understand them, I said, "Excuse me, can you please find me a manager or somebody that speaks a little bit more clearly." I just, yeah, it's unfortunate that we got to do that, but we do have that right to request somebody else that may have a bit more uh, experience in speaking English. And then, of course, I don't know how many of y'all are, but I'm still in the process of learning Spanish one day at a time, man. I can't, man, I'm telling you, yeah, you got to start small. And then, well, that's why, and I'll throw something in like numero uno or something like that, but I don't have the or the R, whatever, but we're just learning. We are just learning. And I know I used the word fuego. I think it means fire. And so I'm learning a little at a time. Okay, a little at a time. And how it's gonna take however long it takes for yours truly to learn how to speak it a bit more fluently. But in the meantime, okay, and been on hold for hours. Yeah, okay, yeah, okay, and I understand that too. And okay, you're not alone. Cindy, thank you for sharing that, and it gives me an opportunity here to show you what she's talking about here, because you'll surely have them as well. The anti-radiation. Hello, Eltonio, welcome. And okay, thank you, Cindy. I can read that, but I have no idea what you're telling me. Okay, and so okay, you're more fluent in Spanish than I am. I see that. Okay, awesome, because you know what? You can help me out. I might be reaching out to you for some Spanish speaking help. Okay, and the radiation shield case for the cell phone, and use the speaker so it isn't like right at the head. There you go. That's what we're talking about. It's part of combating radio frequency for healthier living, but we got to be aware of it, and we got to understand how many times have you been in a restaurant, right? Okay, we're going to get to that here in just a moment. But the anti-radiation protection case. Okay, yeah. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that. Okay. And I do. So, yeah, I don't remember the name of the company, but they're out there for your cell phone. Okay, yes, yours surely has one on each, the business and this phone. So yes, absolutely, you can get them. And then okay, that is German. Ich bin yeah, like I know Ich bin Michelle, like my name is Michelle. I got that part in German, but I'm trying to get Spanish first. Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, you've been learning German now, but Spanish was a long time ago. Okay, it says, what did you have for breakfast? Oh, okay, que tomas en el desayuno. Okay, so that's what did I have for breakfast? How about some fruit and a protein shake? All right, so learning new things. That's what we're doing. I appreciate that. I'm glad to know. Listen, welcome to our growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. This is a ministry, okay, that specializes in narcissistic abuse and trauma recovery with God's word. Oh yeah, God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true techniques, and more. Okay, we're all about that trauma healing and spiritual growth, as the mission and our movement is combating radio frequencies for healthier living, because radio frequency poisoning is used daily for mind control and then also to target our health. The devil targets our health. He doesn't want us to be well. He wants to drain us of our energy. and wants to keep us thinking that we have illnesses and things like that, because what a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Jesus cleans everything. It's another reason why we live in a world that hates Jesus, because when you are focused on God and dependent on God and not man as we're supposed to be, oh yeah, the devil can't stand that. So yeah, it is what it is. And so the narcissistic matrix out here, also known as the world stage, will keep people in places where they are exposed to more radio frequency than their body can adapt to, and restaurants are no exception. So when you think about, you've gone out to eat, and well, yeah, you're sitting there, and it feels like you're sitting there for a long time, don't it? In the meantime, what's happening? And I remember when I first started detoxing, I'm paying attention to how, because I knew what happened to me with the Jezebel case study, I knew everything, and I said, okay, we just got a lot of salt that we've got to, this body needs to process and get rid of. So we got to detox. So we're detoxing, we're at a restaurant, and I literally felt some of the salt molecules, okay, yes, okay, dancing, literally, okay, moving around to the beat of the song that was playing. I started laughing though. I was like, I said, oh my gosh, I can feel that. And I went, oh, because my ANS is not numbed. Okay, I'm aware of my autonomic nervous system now, the ANS. See, when it's numbed and you're not aware of it, you would never know that's happening. But it was a little comical because the salt was literally dancing. I wasn't moving, but the salt molecules would dance to the beat of the music. I said, okay then. Wow, that's very interesting. But anyhow, having that experience, I said, well, we've got a bit more detoxing to do. And and so that gives you an idea of what's going on when you are like sitting someplace at a store longer than necessary while the narcissistic matrix schedule very little help, because it wants to keep you exposed so that your body will experience negative side effects that will present as some sort of virus or illness or what have you, when it's simply a radio frequency symptom. Your body's trying to detox from being overexposed to the radio frequency and excess salt. And it's really that simple. So when you when you think about things like that, and you're like, you go someplace and they be like, well, we understand, those of us, we worked out there and been in toxic workplaces and things like that, so we understand when somebody else calls out, right? They call out sick, or they have an emergency or whatever, okay, and there's no one else to cover their shift, so now we're shorthanded. I mean, that happens, yeah. But then there's also the deliberate shorthanded scheduling that the narcissistic matrix does. And that has to do with keeping people in an environment where there is a lot of radio frequency to be exposed to, because it wants to heat that salt on the inside of the body to cause you to buy on impulse, get a euphoric salt high. And man, I have to tell you, it's quite an experience. And then to be aware of it happening, that's how you can prevent yourself from falling for that trap, is by being aware of it. Oh, and I can tell you, because I know if I'm in the store because of the detox, and I will still resist the devil and he shall flee. Because what I started doing, this for somebody, if you are just now jumping on the journey and you're still having a little bit of a challenge resisting the devil, oh, okay, resisting the temptation when you go to the store and you make a list, okay? You're trying to make better decisions, okay? It's one day at a time, one store trip at a time. But let's say you've got a meal, a healthy meal plan. You know you got a fruit salad waiting on you. when you get home, right? Okay, or a tuna salad, or a chicken salad, or something, or a steak, whatever it is. You got something waiting on you when you get back home, or wherever it is you're staying. Remind yourself of that. You can feel it, okay? Because while you're detoxing, you're going to start to notice. That's the thing. You start to become aware of how your body is responding to the different frequency and when it's getting heated up. And so whenever, yes, because heat rises. So if I've got an area of my body that is still detoxing, that trapped sweat, if you will, and I feel it getting heated and the heat rises and I can feel it going, okay, it's trying to make the head go a little, yeah, wants to try and induce that dopamine and a feeling of euphoria. And I can feel it when it's trying to creep on. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Okay, so I remind myself, wait a second. We here just to pick up a couple of items because I got this back in that refrigerator waiting for when I get back for a healthier meal. I don't need that bag of Doritos. No. Leave it there. I was like, I don't need it. We got what we need, and we get back here and we're good. It was just, you have to be intentional. You have to be aware. That's how you resist the devil's temptation like that. Of course, the narcissistic matrix and devil don't want you to do that. They don't want you to know that's what's happening to you. They don't want you to know that when you go to the store and why you end up going home and you're like, man, I got all this stuff. It wasn't even on the list. How'd that happen? That's how it happened, was because the excess salt on the inside of your body, it got heated up and you started buying on impulse and not able to resist the devil's temptation. That's how it happened. Yours truly? Yeah. Before we knew better, and before we knew that's what was happening, but now, that awareness, we are aware of when it is happening or when it's trying to happen. Better yet now, because the further along you get in the detox process, exactly, the less that's going to have an effect on you because you are getting rid of that stored excess salt that doesn't belong there. Remember, God designed our bodies so strategically to get rid of what it doesn't want and what it doesn't need. It knows. That's why I tell y'all often, and this is for whoever needs this, when you start eating healthier, you become aware of your autonomic nervous system and how it responds to that. You're going to understand that that's another big reason why God gave us this movement to combat radio frequencies for healthier living, because it's very true. Our autonomic nervous system, our ANS, does not like those toxins. It does not like excess salt. It don't like to be tensed up like that. It's like, hey, our ANS is like, hey, hold on a second. If I'm tensed up all the time, I can't do my job. And our ANS is responsible for a plethora of biological function, because remember, the vagus nerve is the motherboard. The vagus nerve alone is responsible for how much urine your body gets rid of. And that's one of the most significant ways of detoxing from excess salt, through the kidney. It's all connected. But if your body stays tensed up with all that excess salt, and the high frequencies activate mercury, the high frequencies activate mercury, and if you've got dental work done, you've got mercury in your mouth. So that's going to lead to jaw tension, which trickles on down and lead to that kind of tension. And your ANS is like, hey, I'm trying to circulate there. Your ANS looks like, I'm trying to get some nutrients there. Can we relax? Because your ANS knows what it needs to do. Okay, you've got your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system in your autonomic nervous system. It knows what it needs to do, and it wants to do its job. We don't even have to think about it. Not to mention, your ANS is also responsible for your breathing. This is not a secret. Y'all can look it up. Y'all can do the research. But this is just, it's my trauma training coming in, but God's wisdom first and foremost, but then also my master's degree in forensic toxicology, y'all. I had to study metal toxicity and then going through a third detox from radio frequency poisoning, and I'm really paying attention now because I didn't know the first 2 times, the ex-psycho roommate, and then after that with the Jezebel case studies, and then now, because of all the excess salt that I did not know got trapped in there. So, in this body, I didn't know about it at the time. But this time, and that's why I keep bringing y'all these things, because I'm wondering now about all of this. Everything that we are exposed to out there is all, frequencies all around us. We're not going to escape it, but there are things we can do to mitigate negative effects. Because it takes a lot. And it takes a lot. Where there's no radio frequency, there's going to be chemicals. Where there's no radio frequency or chemicals, they're going to try to get us to do it to ourselves. Because the devil loves for people to self-sabotage. So you have to be mindful of that. But the body will, when left alone and away from excess radio frequency, it will recover. It will go back to operating the way it's supposed to, as long as it doesn't continue to get zapped. Okay? So, yeah. All right. And I'm glad to see y'all talking there. Okay? Y'all conversing with one another. That's great. And we want y'all, seriously. Okay? Seriously. We want y'all to be healthy. God wants you to be healthy. You know, God did not create us to become, we're all human lab rats to an extent, because the Matrix likes to watch and see if what it's doing is working. And if it's not, it ain't got no new tricks. You know, the devil ain't got no new tricks. And so we're going to heal from the radio frequency poisoning. It's just, if we continue to be exposed to too much on a regular basis, then it's just going to take longer. This is the thing. The devil wants to prolong the healing. Okay? The devil don't want you to heal anyway. So he wants to prolong any illusion of pain and suffering that he can. Remember, like narcissists, the devil feeds on pain and suffering. That's evil. Okay? That's evil. They feed on people's pain and suffering. And it's not just evil, but it's really psycho. Okay? That is some really psychopathic stuff right there, to be feeding on the perceived pain and suffering of others. Chosen ones don't do that. So that would be another significant thing that sets us apart. Remember when God said in Jeremiah 1:5, he said, before he formed us in the womb, y'all, he knew us, he sanctified us, he set us apart. And that's just one of the big ways right there. And he ordained us a prophet unto the nation. And a significant way right there is the fact that we just don't have that. You know, other people's pain and suffering, we know. And that's how we know that God is not a God of pain and suffering. That's how we know. Because we don't like to see it. We don't want to see it. But we also have to be mindful with discernment too. Because there's a lot of tricksters out here. I've seen them. Yes. Okay, I'm not alone. Y'all, I know a lot of y'all seen them too. So you got to be careful about that too. With tricksters trying to tug at your heartstrings like a narcissist, because they are actors. And if they've got a sob story that they have rehearsed over and over again for so many years, they're so good at it. Be mindful of that. But there's always going to be that hint of fakeness to it. That is what we start to pick up on in God's reality, in the spiritual awakening. Remember that. God's reality is the spiritual awakening. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Okay, Cindy. Yeah, and there you go, Jay. Thank you. You've seen a few of those tricksters in your day. I know. And they're out there. So that's why I tell y'all that if you sense, and it's a spiritual energy transfer thing, if you sense anything or anyone trying to tug at the heartstring, that ain't from God, because that ain't how God works. Remember, God created our heart. He is in us. He is Alpha and Omega. Everything. I got to share with y'all this, okay? That God knew that I was going to be in this room in this season. And he knew that this room was not going to have a closet for me to hang my clothes. At the right time, because when I went to get a, you know, it's like it's like a rolling clothes rack for the previous place that I used to reside at before I learned it was a mini electrocution chamber. All they had at that time was a few to choose from. This time, they had those, but then now they have one that's much simpler. No tools required. Seriously. That one actually was true. No tools required. But it's easy to assemble, and it's compact and easy to disassemble. And when I packed my car this go around, remember God teaching us how to pack light for these business trips. He said, now that can go with you. He said, that travels with you now. Because I had space saver hanger thingies, okay, in one of the previous places that had a closet, but I needed space saver. So I was keeping my clothes on those. While I was at the previous room before here, he told me, he said, I need you to take all them off of there. He said, you got plenty of room in your bag to roll them tank tops up. Take them off the hangers. He had us downsized because he knew we were going to need to get. This is how God prepares us. I was so excited when I got in here. I was like, oh. And so I went and I got the compact. And the downsizing of the amount of clothes on hangers now fits perfectly, and it's not overcrowded. And I was like, oh, Heavenly Father, I see how you work. I said, glory be to God. Because he said, yeah, he said, now you can take that apart. Easy. It doesn't, it's not difficult to put together or take apart. Real simple. And it can travel. Well, I'll be dang. So that's how God works. I had to share that with y'all. I had to share some good news in there. All right, y'all know how we get to the and more. Because with all this radio frequency combating and stuff, it's pretty deep. And it is serious business. So I have to tell y'all that was another great investment, and definitely very inexpensive. And I was like, I love how God works. Because I was like, okay, I've got these clothes on hangers. I mean, because I've got that one bag, but it's full. It's full. And I can get a few things that are on the hanger in the bag, still on the hanger though, for packing purposes. But as far as trying to take anything else up, I got some nice blouses and stuff that I don't want to do that. I want to keep them on a hanger where possible. So the Lord made it happen, and glory be to God, because I need y'all to understand how He works. And so, teaching us how to pack light to make room for things like that come up. You see, that's God at work. And so He doesn't have to tug at our heartstrings, y'all. That's what I was talking about. He ain't got to tug at our heartstrings. So if you are out here and you run across a message, oh gosh, especially those, oh my goodness, I felt it. Okay, some of these organizations, okay, for animal rescue, y'all got to do your research, because not all of them are legit. No, do your research. There's some of them that ain't legit. There's some of them that actually do not do, they don't do any good for the animals while claiming that they do. And a lot of people don't know that, and they support them by donating. But the message that they put out And the way that they put the commercial together and how they play on empathy, they're tugging. And I felt it. I said, "Oh, you trying to tug at my heartstrings?" I said, "No." I said, "No, no, and no. But do your research." And I have heard from a lot of people that the best way, if you're going to adopt a pet or what have you, check your local shelters. Okay, check the local shelters. So there's that. But I just don't fall for anything that trying to tug at your heartstrings. That's a trick. That's a trick. And deception at its finest. And so this is why God says we're in his reality now, so we are not to be deceived. God is not mocked. That's right. So, Eltonio, okay, he'd been trying to eat healthy and the devil was near with junk food and sweets. I got you. I know, hey, it takes a while. Nobody, listen. Oh, man, I feel with you. I got you. I know you're like, man, I'm trying to make... Listen, being in repentance, it does take time. It's not like you're just going to wake up the next day and go, boom. Here's a tip I have for you, okay? Eltonio, and anybody else who's having this issue, okay? You're really trying to eat healthier, okay? Because you got it in your mind, apparently. That's the start right there. You got to get it in the mind that you want to eat healthier. Okay, now, start with one thing at a time. Like we talked about the other day, the message I said, reminded everybody about is one day at a time, one trauma trigger at a time. Okay, when it comes to healthier eating, if you are one of those who's struggling like that because you're like, man, I really want to eat healthier, but old habits die hard, right? You heard that saying before. Okay, so in order to change that, just pick one food item at a time, okay? Pick one of those junk foods. How about, okay, if you got junk food and then other sweets, well, I guess that kind of all falls in the same category in some ways. But I know what you're talking about. If you're talking about candy and then chips, all right, well, pick one candy and pick one chip. Pick one of the two and find a healthier replacement. Okay? Depending on what it is. Or just one. I mean, and find a healthier replacement. Okay. The example I have, yes, I have one. Okay? If you are eating, let's say you got yourself some of those sour cream and cheddar potato chips. Oh, I know, those are good, aren't they? Yeah. Okay, so you still want that crunch, right? You still like your potato chip. Well, guess what? The healthier option, just plain old regular potato chips, lightly salted. They got them. That yours truly. Yep, that's what I go for. The lightly salted potato chips. Potato chip, reduced sodium. Same thing with my corn chips, because I do like my chips and salsa, and I'm going to make my own homemade salsa. Cut out the sodium. But reduced salt. Reduced sodium chips. And I'm going to tell y'all, the potato chip reduced sodium, oh, you'll be surprised. And then you can get you a little thing of sour cream, which sour cream, by the way, does not have that much sodium. Shouldn't have. I think on average, I've seen about 15 milligrams of sodium per serving of that. And that's not that bad. But then you get a little ranch packet, and okay, and there's about 60 milligrams of sodium per serving on that. Okay, and that's not too bad. And then you get your reduced sodium, lightly salted potato chip, and now you have some ranch dip. Okay, you good? Or if you like French onion, what have you, but watch out for the corn syrup. Read the packet. Read the label. Do your best to stay away from the corn syrup and corn syrup solid. That goes right in the frontal lobe, and it tricks you into thinking that you want to eat more of it when you're full. Same thing with excess salt. That can trick you into thinking that you're still hungry when you're not. So be mindful of that. And then, right, the sour cream and cheddar chips. I knew I was going to get one, y'all. But the lightly salted That's what we do. Okay, so that's just to give you an example. That's somewhere to start. And I'm not saying go throw that. If you just now bought a bag of sour cream and cheddar potato chips, I'm not saying throw it out, okay? Just be moderate with it, but just know the next time you go to the store that you're going to make a better choice, right? Yeah, a little bit better choice. And I'm not saying that you won't ever have that again, but you want to make the necessary changes to get on the right track, right? Well, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. I hear the Lord say, just get started. You got to start somewhere. And the wasabi flavored almonds. Okay, hey, I'm with you on that. There's nothing wrong with that. Like a little heat. Get that circulation going. That's, oh yeah. Yep. That horseradish is also very good for that. It opens up your nasal passage and promotes that circulation to the head and the brain and the sinuses and get that going. That's for healthier living. So there's your tip there, okay? Because I know James 4 verse 7, resisting the devil and he shall flee. It's true, okay? It takes practice. Got to resist those temptations. I know. That's all part of the trauma bond to the world too, right there. Is the fact that if we're still falling for the devil's temptation that easily, then we still got some trauma bonding to break to the world. So there you go. All right. And so as you are making better choices going forward, making healthier choices, there are options out there to do so. And like I said, I go for it. If you want to get some roasted almonds, you don't like the wasabi, that's fine. They also have reduced sodium for those too. And then I also go for the raw unsalted. Okay. And make my own fruit and dried fruit and nut mix. And then I find me some, if I can find some unsalted pumpkin seeds, that goes right in there too. And then there's usually going to be that lightly salted, but that provides plenty of salt, usually the pistachio. And that provides plenty of salt for the entire mix. Seriously, just a little bit of lightly salted on one nut, like the pistachio. Then I've got cashews, and I've got regular unsalted peanut, pecan, and sometimes hazelnut. And then I add the salted, lightly salted pistachios, because all those are unsalted, and then some raisin, and then some, if I can find the unsalted pumpkin seed, and then the salt from the pistachios. Once I get it in there and mix it up, it provides plenty of salt for the entire mix, and it's not overly salty, has just enough, and doesn't need any more. You get used to it. You really do. You get used to, your palate get used to all of that. And then when it happens and you make yourself straight up broccoli juice, and I mean cook that broccoli till it's soft, and then you put it in that personal blender and you make it with that water and you put it over ice and you sip on that, your ANS is going to be like, give me some more of that. Because your autonomic nervous system, for its overall health, it prefers some of that nutrition as well. I understand your inner child might want those sour cream and cheddar chips if it's gotten a little bit traumatized. Okay, we get that. All right, but once we get past that, then you absolutely can do it. You set your mind to it. See, chosen one, that's the thing. You got to set your mind to it. So when you get in here and you're telling me that you're trying to, then that lets me know you got it in your mind already that you want to make the healthier choices. You want to start eating healthier. And so it's in there. Now you just got to put it into action, right? And so there's your little tip. Just one thing at a time, and find a healthier replacement, like the lightly salted potato chips instead of the Doritos even. I mean, that kind of thing. So that way you're not, that way you don't start to feel like you're being deprived of anything. You don't want to do that. Because that really, that's, no. Because over time, you'll start to realize, okay, I don't have to have the chip this time around. I can go and get me an actual sweet potato and eat me a baked sweet potato instead of, you'll start to do that naturally. It will happen. It will happen. Because part of the abundant mindset, you'll realize that a little goes a long way. You don't have to sit there and eat the whole bag in one setting. That's the thing. So you eat in moderation. And, and the way you think about eating, not for taste, because in repentance, we're not trying to feed the flesh. We're trying to feed the muscles. We're feeding the nerves. We're feeding our brain. We're feeding our organs. We're feeding the biological function. We're not feeding the sinful flesh anymore. It's repentance for a reason. And there you go, everybody. So that wraps up today's Truth Seeker podcast. I thank y'all for joining, and I also thank all y'all who are going to catch this on the replay. So I look forward to seeing your comments and your additional insight. You know, share some additional healthier eating tips, because we have got fellow warriors on board with us. So, and yours truly, yes, let's iron sharpen iron. So on the replay even, let's drop some healthier eating tips in those comments. And let's keep learning from one another and keep motivating one another and keep moving forward. We keep it moving. Sending love and light to fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your continued support. Till next time, we show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.